Helpless? Broken? Cornered. Prepare 3 coffins. Emma Bell didn't scream when she said it. She was lying flat in the dry yellow grass, one boot missing, her skirt torn, blood drying along her knee in a dark line that had already turned stiff. Dust stuck to her lips, and somewhere far behind her, beyond the low rise of the prairie, a thin line of dust was climbing into the sky. Metal clicked faint in the distance, not close yet. But getting there, they weren't done with her. They were coming back, and this time they wouldn't leave anything alive. Emma knew that because she had heard Rufus Kane say it himself. The shadow reached her before the sound did. A wide hat cut the sun. Boots stepped into her world without hurry. The rancher, Caleb Turner, didn't rush, didn't call out, didn't reach for her right away. He just stood there, tall, still, looking down like he had seen this kind of scene too many times before. Emma tried to move. Her leg failed her. The rancher stepped closer, then lowered himself to one knee. Not too close. Not yet. He kept a distance longer than most men would. That alone confused her. His eyes moved first, not to her face, to the ground, to the drag marks, to the broken clasp from her satchel, to the hoof prints pressed deep and fresh. Same spacing. Same weight. Men who rode together. Men who had done this before. Then back to her. He wasn't reacting. He was counting. Who did this? He asked. His voice was quiet, flat, controlled. Not a trace of panic. That was worse. Emma swallowed. Her throat burned. She followed his gaze for a second. Saw what he saw. Too many tracks. Too fresh. Too organized. Not drifters. Not chance. This was planned. They'll come back, she said. The rancher didn't answer. He already knew. He reached toward the torn fabric near her leg. She flinched hard. His hand stopped in the air. He shifted slightly, careful now, slower, letting her see every movement. Then he touched only the edge of the cloth, nothing more. Checking, not taking. That tiny difference changed everything. Emma looked at him again, really looked this time, older, gray in the beard, weather cut deep into his face, and steady in a way that didn't belong to men who lost control. You from around here? He asked. She shook her head once, didn't trust her voice yet. He glanced past her, toward that rising dust line again, closer now, not fast, but coming, always coming. He had seen this before, too far from town, no law close enough, no help coming in time. Just a choice, walk away, or step into something that didn't belong to him. Emma pushed herself up on one elbow. Pain shot through her leg. She didn't care. She held his eyes and said it again, slower this time. Prepare 3 coffins. The rancher said nothing, not yet, but the way his eyes shifted from her to the dust to the tracks on the ground told a different story. He wasn't wondering if trouble was coming. He was deciding how many men wouldn't leave. But was Emma asking for justice, or had she just handed this quiet rancher a fight that would burn the whole region to the ground? Caleb didn't ask her to repeat it. He stood there a moment longer, eyes still on that thin line of dust climbing behind the low ridge. Closer now, not fast, but steady. Men who rode like that weren't guessing. They were certain. He slipped one arm under Emma's shoulder, slow enough not to startle her, and lifted her just enough to sit. She tensed. He noticed. I ain't taking you back, he said. Simple, no extra words. That helped. He tore a strip from the inside of his own sleeve and wrapped it tight around her knee. Firm hands, careful. Done quick. Not gentle, not rough, just practiced. You got somewhere they won't look first, he asked. Emma nodded once. My father's line shack, she said. North fence, half-mile past the dry creek. Caleb knew the place. Old wood, low roof. Easy to miss unless you were looking for it. Good enough. He helped her to her feet. She leaned harder than she wanted to. He didn't comment on it. They moved slow through the grass, keeping low where the land dipped. Caleb didn't look back often. He didn't need to. He could hear it now. Faint, metal shifting, leather creaking, hooves, spaced out. Not rushed. hunting pace. Emma heard it too. They won't stop, she said. They never do. Caleb kept walking. I know the kind, he said. They reached the shack just as the wind shifted. The smell came first. Sweat, horse, gun oil, closer than before. Inside, Caleb sat her down against the wall. Small space, one window, one door. No place to hide twice. Talk, he said. Emma didn't waste time. 3 brothers. Cain, Rufus, Virgil, Jesse. She gave the names like they tasted bad. They run the freight, she said. Cattle routes, gambling. Half the men in town owe them something. She looked toward the door. And men in 2 counties make their living by staying on Rufus Cain's good side. And your father, Caleb asked, wouldn't sell. She said, so they made an example. Her voice stayed steady. That mattered more than anything. They beat him. Took 2 wagons. Told me next time they don't ask. She swallowed once. Next time, they don't leave anyone alive. Caleb nodded once. That was enough. He had heard stories like this before, and every one of them had started with good people waiting too long for help. Outside, the sound past the shack. Didn't stop. Not yet. They were circling, making sure. Emma looked at him. You can still leave, she said. No one would blame you. Caleb glanced at the door, then at her, then back at the window. No, he said. Just that. No speech. No promise. Just a decision. Emma let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Then you better understand something, she said quietly. They don't lose. Caleb's eyes shifted again, not to her this time, but to the ground just outside the door, to the tracks, to the spacing, to the numbers. He had seen men like this before, men who thought owning fear meant owning everything. He rested his hand near his gun, not drawing it, not yet. They do, he said, just not often. Outside, 1 horse stopped, then another. The creak of leather went still, and for the first time since she'd said those words in the field, Emma realized something cold and sharp. Maybe those 3 coffins weren't for later. Maybe they had just arrived early. Caleb didn't wait for the knock. There wasn't one. The men outside didn't knock. They circled. Slow. Patient. Testing the ground, the walls, the silence inside. Caleb stood by the door, head slightly turned, listening the way men do when they've lived long enough to trust sound more than sight. 3 horses, maybe 4. Spread out. Not careless. Emma watched him, her back against the wall, one hand pressed to her leg. They found us, she said. Caleb nodded once. Yeah, no fear in it, just fact. A shadow passed the window, then another. Boot steps in dirt. A man laughed low outside, like this was already done. Caleb moved then. Not toward the door, toward the back wall. There was a narrow gap where the wood had warped over time, just enough. He crouched, checked it, then looked at Emma. You can move, he said. She hesitated, then nodded. He helped her up again. Slower this time. Pain hit harder now. She didn't complain, didn't make a sound. That told him what kind of person she was. They slipped out the back, keeping low, moving along the shallow ditch behind the shack. The voices stayed near the front. One man kicked the door in. Wood cracked. Another laugh. Too late. Caleb didn't run. He never ran. He moved steady, choosing ground, keeping distance, letting the land hide them. By the time the men realized the shack was empty, Caleb and Emma were already past the dry creek. Far enough. For now, they stopped behind a line of scrub. Emma leaned against a rock, breathing hard. Caleb stood, looking back toward the town, not at the shack. Past it, toward where all of this really started. Freight yard. He said. Emma looked up. That's where they'll go next, she said. He nodded. That's where this ends. She studied him for a second. You don't even know them, she said. Caleb gave a small breath through his nose. I know the kind. He looked down at the dirt near his boots. Fresh tracks, deeper than the others. Heavy riders, used to pushing people off land that wasn't theirs. He had seen it before. Too many times. Emma followed his gaze. "You still got time to ride away," she said. He didn't answer right away. Just stood there. Wind moving slow across the grass, dust still hanging far behind them. Then he spoke. "No," he said. Again. Simple. Final. Emma closed her eyes for a second. When she opened them, something had changed. Not hope. Something steadier than that. "Then we do it your way," she said. Caleb finally looked at her. "You said 3 coffins. He said..." She nodded. "I meant it." Caleb glanced once more toward town, toward the freight yard, toward the men who thought they owned everything that moved through that land. "Good," he said. "Then we better make sure we got the right 3. Now take a second, settle in, and tell me where you're listening from. Because what happened in that freight yard didn't stay in that yard for long. By sundown, men from 2 counties would be talking about the rancher who broke Rufus Kane's hold in one morning. Caleb didn't walk into the freight yard. He arrived before it woke up. Early light. Long shadows. Quiet. That was when a place told the truth. He stood at the edge first, not stepping in, just watching. Wagons lined up uneven. One wheel broken and left. Barrels stacked careless. Men had been working here under pressure. Not pride, fear. He moved slow through it, one step at a time, counting distance, measuring angles, door to gate, gate to wagon, wagon to water trough. He stopped near the main loading ramp, looked up. There it was, a roof line with a clean sight across the whole yard. "That's your first man," he said under his breath. Emma sat in the shade near the office wall, legs stretched out, watching him work. She didn't ask questions, didn't interrupt. She was learning. Caleb moved again. 2 steps left, now the side alley, narrow. A man could come through fast there. "Close range. That's your second," he said. He kept walking, no rush. He wasn't planning a fight. He was removing options. By the time the sun lifted higher, he had seen enough. He knew where they would stand, where they would try to trap him, and where they would die if they chose wrong. Emma looked at him as he came back. "You figured it out," she said. Caleb gave a small nod. "They'll come in loud," he said. "Think